What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today we're going to talk about Social Security. And we're going to talk about that increase, the cost of living adjustment. And so we'll focus on December, so the end of December, and then we'll go into January, and I'll break it all down for you. I'll show you the new payment schedule and all of that. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video. If you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so before we take a look at the calendar, I will go back a little bit. So back in October, we saw the cost of living adjustment announcement. Okay, so they made that announcement. It was 2.8%. And what that means is about $54 on the average person receiving Social Security benefits is going to see about a $54 increase. And the metric that they used to get this, they used July, August, and September. They took the CPI, the CPIW is really what they take. And so they averaged that out to get to that 2.8%. And that's what we're seeing for the cost of living adjustment. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefit, the pros and cons of the 2.8%. So we'll talk about that at the end. But let's take a look at the calendar first. So when it comes to our calendar, and this calendar I got directly off the Social Security website. Now, if we look at the calendar here at the bottom, it says second Wednesday, it says the 1st through the 10th, third Wednesday, the 11th through the 20th, and then fourth Wednesday, the 21st through the 31st. This is the birth date. So this corresponds with your birthday. So that's how they Social Security figures out when they're going to send out checks. Okay, so everyone doesn't receive a check on the same day. They break it down this way. And so when we're looking at the calendar, we're going to see a blue box here. We're going to see this lighter color here. We're going to see this salmon color. That signifies the second Wednesday, third Wednesday, fourth Wednesday. Now we're looking at people receiving SSI. It's going to be this round salmon circle here. And then this box here, that's going to be for people if you receive Social Security before May of 1997, or if you're receiving both Social Security and SSI. Social Security is paid on the 3rd and SSI on the 1st. And so that information explains the calendar. Okay, so looking at, we're going to go December 1st, December 2025. So right now, we're looking, and we've already seen all of this transpire. I did a video last month where I talked about all of this. So these are all the payment dates here. But what's important is the 31st. On the 31st, that is for people receiving SSI. Now that means that people receiving SSI, you're going to see your increase on that date. So your cost of living adjustment, you'll see that reflect on the 31st. The reason why they're doing it on the 31st and not the 1st when you normally receive your check is because the 1st is a holiday. Okay, so let's move into January. Now, when we move into January, now everyone else who is receiving Social Security benefits, you're going to see your increase. So that first increase will go out on the 2nd. That's for people who started receiving Social Security prior to May of 1997. And then we go into the second Wednesday here on the 14th. And then the 21st, that is the third Wednesday, and then the fourth Wednesday here on the 28th. So those are the new dates. That's when you're going to see your increase. Now, when we're looking at the 30th, this is for SSI. And people receiving SSI, they're going to receive their February check on the 30th of January. And the reason for that is because the 1st lands on the weekend. So because the 1st lands on the weekend, they will send you your check a little bit early. And then when we're looking at February, we have, and I'll just go over SSI. SSI, you're going to receive another check on the 27th. You're receiving that check because the 1st of March falls on a weekend. And so in March, you're not going to receive a check. SSI, okay? That check in February is for March. So that might be a little confusing to some, but just think of it this way. If your check normally, if the 1st is on a weekend or a holiday, then you're going to receive your check before then. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of the cost of living adjustment. First off, the fact that they're using July, August, and September of the previous year, that could be problematic because we don't know what inflation is going to look like in 2026. And so right now, 2.8%, that is the cost of living adjustment. Now, we know in November, we saw the CPI, so inflation at 2.7%. Now, I wouldn't put too much weight on that 2.7% because they weren't able to get information for October because of the government shutdown. And so that 2.7%, I'm thinking it's higher than that. But right now, just for sake of this video, we're looking at 2.7%. And so we'll find out the inflation numbers for December in January, and then we'll have a better idea. But right now, we can look at 2.7%. We look at the cost of living adjustment at 2.8%, which means that currently that cost of living adjustment is keeping up with inflation. However, we don't know what's going to happen in 2026. So if we see inflation, CPI, and I go over this every month, if we see CPI, inflation higher than 2.8%, then guess what? Cost of living adjustment is not keeping up with inflation. Now, right now, you have economists out there that are expecting inflation to go higher than that 2.8%. So what that means is your cost of living adjustment is not going to keep up with inflation. So we'll have to see if that's actually the case. We know that there are a lot of indicators right now that show that inflation is still on the rise. And one of the indicators is just go to the grocery store. You know that prices are more expensive than they were a year ago. And so if we continue to see that pattern, then we're going to see inflation higher than 2.8%. Inflation was higher than 2.8%, our last numbers. So back in September, we saw 3% inflation. And so when we get those new numbers for inflation, for December inflation in January, we'll have a pretty good idea of where we're going. And just historically speaking, generally, the cost of living adjustments that you receive every year, they don't keep up with inflation. And you have politicians out there like Representative Larson that's saying that we should increase the amount of Social Security benefits. So increase the amount because of the cost of living adjustment. It's not keeping up with inflation. And just overall, you've had politicians in the past, Bernie Sanders and some other politicians, that have said we should have an increase for people receiving Social Security benefits. So that's another story. That's something else that Congress is going to need to work on. But right now, they're not moving forward with anything. Okay, there's nothing on the table when it comes to an increase for people receiving Social Security benefits. But when we're looking at situations like the cost of living adjustment, we're looking at inflation, that's where an increase would benefit those people receiving Social Security benefits. But the bottom line is right now, if you're receiving Social Security benefits, you will see that increase in your next check. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.